The story starts with Okumura, a shy and awkward guy who only liked 2D girls. He lost interest in real women after his mom left him for another man, and his childhood crush called him a creep when he confessed his feelings. Now he runs a manga club just to admire his two favorite characters, especially Lilial. One day, a girl named Riri walked in and asked to join the club. Okumura was shocked and wondered why a real girl would be interested in a club dedicated to 2D girls with exaggerated features. He wanted to get rid of her and saw his chance when she got excited about the dolls on the shelf. He thought the dolls with their removable clothes would scare her off, but instead, she critiqued the color of the panties and suggested they would look better in black lace. Okumura was torn between kicking her out and feeling like he had found a kindred spirit. Riri apologized for being weird and judging others' tastes. Okumura asked her why she was interested in manga. Riri explained she had always been a bit messed up in the head. Seeing how shy she was, Okumura encouraged her love for Lilial. But Riri claimed no one loved the fictional bombshell more than she did. Okumura scoffed, so Riri challenged him, saying she often imagined herself as Lilial because no boys were interested in her. Okumura couldn't believe he now had actual competition. However, having Riri around was too much for him. Suddenly, Riri noticed the movie playing and started fangirling over it. Okumura forgot his plan to kick her out and let his inner otaku take over. They watched scenes from one of Lilial's movies together, getting so excited that they screamed during the climax. Okumura realized she was the perfect Lilial fan to join the club, but her being a girl was a deal-breaker for him. At that moment, Riri blushed deeply and asked Okumura for a favor. She confessed that she had an unusual hobby she had never revealed to anyone and feared she might be even stranger than him. He reassured her, joking that if his browser history were exposed, the FBI would come after him, so he could never judge her interests. Despite his surprise, he encouraged her, but Riri had a mischievous glint in her eye. She ran to her bag and pulled out her dad collection, explaining that she wanted to be a cosplayer. Okumura was shocked and asked if she really wanted to dress like that, but Riri reminded him not to judge his own kind. She explained that her peculiar obsession began when she was a child, but she kept it secret to avoid alarming Child Protective Services. However, when she attended her first in-person event, she saw many other girls like her and realized it was okay for girls to discuss these things. She decided to return to it when she started high school. Now, Riri is proud of her dress-up hobby and hopes to be a cosplayer one day. Okumura apologized for judging her and asked what she needed help with. She asked if he would take pictures of her when she joins the club. He questioned why he had to do this, and she explained that she wouldn't feel comfortable with a stranger who might turn out to be a creep. She preferred someone she trusted even if he was a familiar creep who also loved Lilial. When Riri started high school, she already knew what kind of content she wanted to create but never imagined finding someone like him. It must have been fate. Now that everything is in place, Riri asks Okumura if she can join the club. Although he remembers the club has been exclusively male until now, he agrees to let her in for the sake of diversity. Riri is thrilled, and Okumura adds that she doesn't have to worry about him since he's only interested in girls who can't talk back and won't be affected by whatever she wears. It seems Riri took this personally because as soon as Okumura turned away, she began removing her skirt. Okumura demands to know why she's doing this, but she innocently explains that she wants to show off one of her costumes. Panicking, he quickly covers the windows so no one else can peek. Riri calmly puts on her costume, does her makeup, fixes her hair, and steps forward for the reveal. When Okumura turns around, he can't believe his eyes. She looks like a real-life Lilial. He even gets a nosebleed when she says Lilial's catchphrase. He manages to pull himself together, but knows he's definitely not okay since he didn't expect her to resemble Lilial so closely. While he's still recovering, Riri shows him the fresh panties she made for the costume and asks for his opinion. She turns around to show him her outfit, and Okumura is overwhelmed. Later, he wakes up with his head on Riri's lap, who has been worried sick. However, when she mentions her debut photo shoot the next day, Okumura blushes intensely once again. The next morning, Okumura is in crisis mode, wondering if he's falling in love with a real girl after swearing not to cheat on his favorite manga character. Riri walks in and finds him watching a rare episode she could never find. She asks him to explain it, and Okumura happily geeks out for a few minutes. When she asks how he knows so much, he offers to show her his research methods. They grab some gamepads and start gaming. Just as Okumura thinks he has nothing to worry about, Riri suddenly asks to pause the game and stops at a part where Lilial's black underwear is in full view. Okumura wonders if she's even more obsessed than he is, but she pulls out her phone to take pictures so her cosplay can be as realistic as possible. Her dedication is impressive, and Okumura almost loses his composure at the sight of her enthusiasm. At that moment, Riri decides to get into character and starts stripping on the spot. Okumura quickly covers the windows while trying to convince himself that he's merely impressed by her commitment. When he turns around, he sees her in a new one-piece outfit, and she asks him to photograph her. After setting up a simple backdrop, Riri begins posing, and Okumura instantly recognizes the poses from the manga, which brings tears to his eyes. She changes into another outfit, and although Okumura feels out of his depth, he's genuinely having a good time. When Riri reviews the photos, she's pleased with how they turned out and glad her love for Lilial has been captured. Okumura still finds it astonishing that she loves Lilial this much. Riri is ready to change back, so Okumura tries to give her some privacy. However, Riri informs him that her zipper is stuck and she needs his help to get out of the outfit. He quickly pulls at the zipper and looks away to avoid seeing anything inappropriate. Unfortunately, fate intervenes and Riri trips, falling into Okumura's arms. She thanks him for catching her, but teasingly points out that he also touched something he shouldn't have. Okumura nearly has a heart attack, swearing it was an accident. Riri reassures him it's fine and asks for some privacy to change back. Okumura eagerly grabs his bag and flees the scene. Once Riri has changed back, she blushes and wonders why her heart is racing. She hurries home, hoping to sort out the strange feelings she might have caught from him. The next day, the principal is surprised by the enrollment of a famous model who seems to dislike manga. When she enters the classroom, all the boys become infatuated with her perfect body, while the other girls feel overshadowed. The new student, Mikari, asks if there's a manga club, and one guy thinks he's in luck until she declares that she hates manga. Meanwhile, Okumura is miserable, recalling a moment of intense disappointment and cursing his fate. He heads to the manga club, hoping Riri isn't there, but the pink-haired eccentric is already waiting for him. They share an awkward moment before Okumura mentions the morning's commotion. Riri informs him that the new student, a famous and very cute model, has joined their class. Okumura is surprised by Riri's comment until she starts gushing about how perfect the model would be as Lilith's best friend. He then realizes that Riri is a hidden otaku when she pulls out an old camera that Okumura recognizes as the one his senior used to take photos of school events. Seeing Okumura looking fondly at the pictures, Riri apologizes for imposing her interests on him and asks what he would like to do instead. To her surprise, Okumura suggests taking pictures of her cosplay, admitting that he enjoyed it last time. Riri begins to cry tears of joy at his compliment, feeling so happy to have his approval that she starts undressing for their first session. Suddenly, Riri remembers she couldn't bring her cosplay since the teachers were searching all the bags earlier. Thinking quickly, she drags him along to find an empty classroom. Riri suggests he take practice shots of her in her uniform. As she poses enthusiastically with the camera, Okumura wonders why he's getting worked up since she isn't Lilith. They start the photo shoot and Okumura goes through the usual motions. However, when Riri looks at the photos, she becomes despondent, thinking she looks like someone's uglier twin. Okumura thinks she looks just average, but Riri explains that she wants to look like Lilith and apologizes for not being 2D. Suddenly, she has a brilliant idea. She pretends her uniform is part of the cosplay. She removes her glasses, shortens her skirt, and applies a bit of makeup. Okumura wonders if he has a thing for helpless girls, but quickly refocuses on his dedication to Lilith. Meanwhile, Riri feels her poses are too dull and tries to make them more interesting. When Okumura shows no reaction, she changes positions to be more captivating. As her glasses slip down when she bends to pick them up, Okumura gets a perfect view of her cleavage and starts taking pictures. Riri accidentally hits her head on the way up and ends up falling onto Okumura. Riri is thrilled, feeling like she's in an anime fan service scene, while Okumura passes out from overstimulation. Afterward, Riri looks at the pictures and blushes deeply when she realizes she wasn't wearing cosplay underwear. She demands that he delete all the pictures, but just then, an announcement calls Riri to the office. She rushes out to attend to it, while Okumura decides to keep some of the pictures as memories he'll treasure every night. Meanwhile, all the boys crowd around Mikari as she enters the club building, their desperation to get close to her palpable. When the only other girl accidentally spills water on her, an embarrassed Mikari runs off to be alone. At the same time, Okumura, tired of his solitude, hears the commotion and goes to investigate. Mikari stumbles upon the manga club just as Okumura steps out and recognizes her from their childhood. She leaps into his arms, and as she hugs him, she recalls how 5 years ago she had asked Okumura if he had a crush on anyone. The shy boy had confessed his love for Lilith, claiming she would never betray him, which is why Mikari had come to detest manga. In the present, their admirers continue to search the hallways for her, so Okumura closes the door and covers the window to avoid being labeled a traitor. He then asks why she suddenly hugged him, and she replies that she was hoping to arouse him. When he asks why she's wet, she dismisses it and asks if she can dry her clothes there. While Okumura buries his head in his manga, she begins to undress. Okumura tells her to stop fooling around and keep her underwear on, but when she invites him to look, he catches a glimpse of her bra and panics. She stretches out on the couch, hoping to nap, and asks if he'd like to join her. Mikari enjoys teasing the defenseless Okumura and asks if he thinks she's cute. When he says she's always been cute, she blushes and insists she's much cuter now that she's a famous model. Okumura says she's just like the little girl from before, causing her to protest. In his surprise, Okumura drops his Lilith manga and slips on it, ending up right on top of her. As she holds him tight while he tries to leave, it becomes his ultimate escape nightmare. She requests to remain in place a bit longer. Okumura then starts to remove his coat, making Mikari reconsider her actions, thinking he might go too far. However, he only covers her to keep her warm while apologizing to his Lilith manga. Mikari feels insulted by his gesture and quickly puts her clothes back on. She then asks if he has feelings for anyone. Though Riri comes to mind, Okumura insists he will never betray Lilith, convincing himself that his interest in Riri is purely due to her cosplay. Realizing he hasn't changed, Mikari picks up her bags and tells him she despises him. Later, Mikari spends time on the rooftop, contemplating why she doesn't just confess her feelings to him. She remembers how she was discovered as a model, hoping that if everyone else liked her, Okumura would too. Her manager questioned why she liked someone so ordinary, suggesting she could have anyone she wanted. But Mikari remembered how Okumura had protected her from bullies who mocked her hair. This inspired her to dive into his favorite manga and style her hair like Lilith's. When she returned to the park, she tried to play with him, but he only showed interest when she mentioned the manga. Despite other boys fawning over her, Okumura was the only one who ignored her, which made her fall for him. She was determined not to betray him like other real girls with functioning brains. She knew he only trusted someone angelic, so she aspired to become that for him, working hard to finally capture his attention. Mikari couldn't believe she had turned into one of the drooling admirers who chased her, falling for a lonely guy who might end up marrying a cardboard cutout. Suddenly, from the rooftop, she noticed the manga club and saw a girl approach Okumura. Riri began her usual routine of undressing while Okumura blocked the windows, prompting Mikari to run down and investigate. When she arrived, she teared up seeing Okumura with a real girl and called him a liar and a cheat. However, Riri approached her and invited her to join the cosplay, leaving Mikari shocked. As she looked at the posters on the wall and back at Riri, she wondered if Lilith could be real after all. This wraps up the second episode of 2.5-Dimensional Seduction Recap. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.